I'm here actually with a book haul. Hello, and welcome to a brand new series on this channel, the shelf health, because myself and the shelf really needs a lot of help. I've been making content on BookTube for many years now, since 2016 to be exact. And especially for the first couple of years, I have gone real hard on just creating a library. I've gone a little bit unhinged a couple of times. I have notably slowed down throughout the years, and I find myself just running lower and lower, and we're currently just at no space. So whilst I try to put my own spin on this, this is also very similar to the other series you've been seeing going on. It's hard to know where exactly it originated, but the first one that I think I've seen was from Books with Emily Fox, and then of course Becca from Becca and the Books, and lots and more at this point. They are true trendsetters. So I thought I'll mention that if you want to look for something that also goes through the currently owned books and try to weave them out. But for this series specifically, I have decided to go through my old hauls, and that is going to be a painful experience for me for so many reasons. First of all, just the acknowledgement of my own consumerism. You know, I just am happy to know that none of the books that I did unhaul went to waste. They've gone to good new homes, and that is all that matters. Whatever my bank account says about those purchases, at least it has gone back into the industry. So, you know, it could be worse. Could be drugs. We're going to watch together my old vlogs from 2016, and I thought 2023. I think 2024 and onwards we can leave it because that is still very fresh. And you can please hold my hand as I watch myself from that long ago. I feel like, you know, this is a universal experience. No one likes watching themselves from many years ago. I am no exception, so that's fine. But for the purpose of this project, we shall do just that. We're going to watch those videos. I'm going to tally how many I've hauled in that particular video, how many of those books do I no longer have, and thus don't have to really worry about. How many of those books have I actually read at this point? How many of those books do I need to put on my current TBR to read and then either keep or yeet? The tagline of the game is from TBR to CBA, which is from to be read to can be arsed, because it is almost embarrassing that I've had these books for that many years and still haven't given them a go. I am going to be quite harsh and I'm going to be quite generous with my DNFs, so that is the idea, and I need to remember this throughout the series so you remind me if I'm ever doubtful, because we are still going in with the premise of helping the shelves, hence the shelf help. I want the shelves to only contain the books that I have read and want to keep, books that I'm still excited about reading, and also represent me, which I currently feel like it doesn't quite. So the shelves do need help. Another quick rule to add is that the books that qualify for this project are the books that I have decided to get myself, meaning no surprise books, aka no books from subscription boxes, no books that were sent to me without me okaying it, let's say. I feel like it's a fairly simple concept. We're gonna watch the previous hauls, see what books I still have and have not read, try them, keep or on hold. As I said, we're starting from 2016 and going in chronological order. These videos have been unlisted for the time being. I'm expecting the early ones to be all over the place. Definitely expect a lot of the books no longer exist in the library here. Probably some questionable choices that I just got on the hype train, especially at the start. And that's fine, because I was hyped and it got me back into reading, and for that I am still thankful. So, but I will be honest, I have no idea what's waiting for me. It's not like I remember that many years back, and I feel like this is going to be a wild ride for me personally. So without further ado, let's get into the first video of 2016. We're here. We're here and we can't run anymore, or whatever. We're just gonna play it. We're just gonna play it. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. I still think that slaps. Today I'm gonna do something that I like to call a flash haul. My voice is like so many octaves higher. Why am I screeching? It's okay. I think that was a theme when I was making a list of the hauls. It was all like flash haul. I feel like we had a very limited attention span, and this was before TikTok. I feel like we're back there now, you know? But I'm not expecting a very detailed description of my reasons for getting these books, so we're not going to be able to dissect those reasons, let's say, I feel. The music.
What comes before October? September, October.
Whatever.
Like, first off is Ready Player One.
You know what? I have read Ready Player One now, and I actually really enjoyed it. There were quite a lot of references. Some of them were familiar, some of them were a little bit before my time, or, you know, I didn't grow up with fantasy, so I missed out on a lot of things. And I feel like this really was feeding the OG fantasy audience, and unfortunately, not by any choice of my own, I was not in that category. So, you know, but I did read this. Let's add a counter. More things to edit for me. You're welcome. The very first book hauled on this channel is Ready Player One, which is also very interesting to know. It is a sci-fi, so I'm glad to see that. And it is especially good to see that the first book that I've ever hauled here, I actually have read. So, not a terrible start. But it is not indicative of what's to come, I can tell you that.
It's something about gaming, it's a little dystopian, and there's different realities, I think. Then we have
What is that?
Arsène Lupin versus Sherlock Holmes.
I can tell you already, I no longer have this, and also it was unread. So no longer with us. R.I.P.
Do I need to see anything else? 6 of
You do, because I don't know what the hell that book is and how I got it. I want to say that it was perhaps in a second-hand bookshop, and I saw it, and it was probably like, oh, Sherlock Holmes. I know that one. Haul.
Crows and Crooked Kingdom, but
Okay. Oh no, a double whammy. That's okay. I have read both of them. I really enjoyed both of them. I can add 2 more to my read tally. Not too shabby. I don't think I need to go any further on that one. You all know what this is.
Ice Like Fire and Frost Like Night.
Adding a new rule. Adding a new rule immediately. If I have read the first book and decided to not continue with the series, then we don't have to worry about said series. I thought it was just okay. It was like not bad, and I think I probably enjoyed it more back then than I would now. Equally, I believe I don't have this anymore.
Because I have the first book and I haven't read it, but I bet I love it, so I need it.
Do you bet? Do you bet? It's a good thing you're not betting money.
Made You Up by Francesca.
Okay. I tried this one. It's supposed to be about schizophrenia, if I remember right, but I did not enjoy tonally. So I have actually DNF'd this one, and I no longer have it. I mean, I didn't read it, but I did read it in a sense of I DNF'd it. This is where we need to make a rule whether we count it as read if it's a DNF. Regardless, though, this is the one that is no longer with us. So I'll add it to that tally. We'll just not count it as read. But I did try it, so I'm happy with that.
By Estée Lalonde, because
I read portions of this. I no longer really follow this creator. I don't know why I said, oh, because I love her. I never really closely followed, so I don't know what happened here. But it is definitely no longer with me.
Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, because believe it or not,
I did read it. I did read it. Equally, I'm pretty sure I no longer have it. So I'm gonna just put that one in brackets. This has now become one of my cornerstones of comparing a book to something that I know I won't like. So if someone says like, oh, this is a bit like Alice in Wonderland, red flag. Red flag for me.
The Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
I have not read this. I have not read this. I watched Wicked since. Does that count? I am like 80% positive that I no longer have this, but if I do have it, I know exactly where it would be. So let me just snoop. I do not, and thank God, honestly. Relieved. Don't have it. Fab.
For very similar reasons. Very British Problems by Rob Temple, because it's just full of little snippets of first world problems, and I love those. The Psycho...
I no longer have that. The Psychopath Test. Oh. I either still have this, or it has been unhauled fairly recently in the last like year or two. I have some unfortunate news for us. I do still have it. Sticker and all. Wow. The very first book to actually go into our TBR pile. What are you even about? What if society wasn't fundamentally rational but was motivated by insanity? Okay. Is this fiction? I don't even know if this is like non-fiction. This is how have I had this since 2016 and not even really know what it is about? Well, I guess it is time to find out. So that's one book onto the to-read list.
Bad Death by John Watson because it seems like a really funny book. Lost Stars by Lisa Davis. There was a
I don't have that.
3 for 2 in Blackwell and I needed a third one and I couldn't.
It was 3 for 2 and I didn't know what to do, so I got one. Consumerism. Alright, no longer have that though. I got 3.
Couldn't find anything and this cover looked good. Fear the Darkness by Becky something over the sticker.
We also no longer have Becky something over the sticker, so that's fine. Oh, I forgot to count how many books we had. Oh, damn it. I'll go back.
The Raven Boys by Meg.
Oh, the Raven Boys. I have read the entire series of the Raven Boys, A Tally for the Red, and I love it.
Steefwater? Probably butchered that. Everyone's talking
Steefwater.
about it and it seems really good. Night Circus by Erin Morgan.
Night Circus, I have read.
Miss Peregrine's Home for...
Okay, Miss Peregrine's. I think there's a movie now adaptation as well. I have not read this book actually, and I think I decided to unhaul it a while back, so no longer with us.
A Monster Calls by Patrick.
I have read The Monster Calls. Well, A Monster Calls. A sad, tragic book. Equally, I think I no longer have it, but I did read it.
It's also about mental health. I think it's schizophrenia or depression or maybe both. And
It's grief.
Because it had A Torch Against the Night by Sabbath Tahir because I really love hardcovers and I was afraid that the hardcovers are gonna turn in paperback and
Oh, okay, actually, valid fear. Valid fear. Previous rule that we added, right, was if I read the first one, got a sequel, did not anticipate reading the sequel, we can remove, right? I did read An Ember in the Ashes and I did like it. So I planned on reading the sequel, but now it has been so long, I don't remember what happened there. Because I'm keeping the series for when I want to actually read the entire series. New category, keep for series sake. I'm gonna keep it here because I feel like we're just gonna have so much to trial and this one doesn't actually contribute to the project, so.
The Man Who Returned from the Dead by John Myers because this is a true story.
Do not have it.
Papillon by Henry Sherrier.
Do not have it.
Architects of the Gifted.
Do not have it.
All the other books and The Throne of Glass.
What? Okay. What is that? 4 books. Okay, I don't have them anymore. I do not have them.
Harry Potter and the Chambers of Secrets,
No longer have it.
illustrated edition because it's illustrated and it's beautiful.
Technically, though, read it as well, so there you have it.
And it's also Harry Potter. I'm gonna collect it till I die. Why?
Will you now, girl? Will you now? Aww. You sweet, sweet summer child. If only you knew.
Death Note manga in black edition.
I did read that. This is actually going smoother than I thought, and I already anticipated having a lot of them no longer be here, but I'm pleasantly surprised at the amount read.
Is orange manga.
I've read it. So because this is me and I am full of chaos always, accidentally clicked start streaming rather than start recording. So the first video is currently being screen recorded of the screen recording. So, okay, the counter of the very first haul is 30 books if I counted right. Hauled in the very first video. Out of the 30, I read 10 of them, which is not too bad, honestly. I'm pretty happy with it. I actually expected it to be much worse. We are keeping 1 book for the continuous series because it wouldn't qualify for this kind of project because I am keeping the series and I know I'm keeping the series. That's all well and good. And we have added a whole grand total of 1 book from the video that I still own and I still have not read. Because it has like pictures and stuff. I don't actually know if this is non-fiction or if it is fiction, so I need to check. I need to check somewhere. It's a series? Or it's like a collection? Okay, the average... Oh my god, it has 154,000 ratings. Okay. And it has a 3.95 average rating, which is actually not too shabby. Non-fiction. Okay. It's like psychology, science, non-fiction, mental health. Alright, if it is a non-fiction, I usually prefer to have it as an audiobook, so let's see if there's any luck on that. Considering the amount of people who have read it, I am hopeful. It is! Okay, fantastic. Okay. That's the first project sorted. I'm actually DNFing it, but you know what? I am DNFing it here. So I've read all of this. I spent, I want to say like 3 or 4 hours cleaning today. As I was cleaning, it was like a good enough background noise. It kind of lacked a clear direction. It is a little bit jumbled. We basically go with the author of this book through various stages of getting interviews with particular people who he either thinks could be psychopaths, be that someone who's a CEO or very business oriented people, or visiting people who are in prison, or even talking about this concept with Scientologists. So it was an interesting, a little clickbaity type of situation, but I think the point is very muddled. It's more so entertainment than anything else, and I think it struggled to keep my interest peaked enough to the point where when I was done cleaning for the day, because I'm just tired at this point, I just realized that I'm listening because I just had that on. If I had to pick it up and read the remaining tiny bit of this book, I just don't wanna. Then I asked myself, will I be keeping this even if I finish it? And I won't. I definitely won't. This is going to be space for another book on my shelf, and I'm very happy with that. So I'm going to DNF this at 200 pages. Technically kind of read it. I feel like I'm not doing a good job at describing this book, but that's, I think, more so to do with the fact of how this was presented to us. I'm not gonna take responsibility on that point, actually, but I will read it back to you in case you're wondering. What if society wasn't fundamentally rational but was motivated by insanity? This thought sets John Ronson on an utterly compelling adventure into the world of madness. Along the way, John meets psychopaths, those whose lives have been touched by madness and those whose job is to diagnose it, including the influential psychologist who developed the psychopath test, from whom John learns the art of psychopath spotting, a skill which seemingly reveals that madness could indeed be at the heart of everything. And it was humorous, it was punchy, it was definitely on the entertainment end of things. I think he uses terminology and language around the subject very liberally, which, you know, is a vibe, even if it is a little bit perhaps irresponsible. Just like a smidgen, you know? Felt a little bit like I was in a podcast episode, like a one-man podcast episode. It lost me multiple times. I feel like for something that is written fairly well, I think there was something missing that really connected the material from chapter to chapter. It was very scatterbrained. It was very scatterbrained. I do not think that it played into the strength of the book. I think there is like lots of good material, and obviously the author does appear to be quite pen smart in a way that it is engaging for the writing, but it just did not quite meet the mark for me, and I will be DNFing this and finally releasing it into the wild. So I'm gonna be keeping tally, so I'm going to put this aside. This is very like Sunday vibes today for me, although it is actually Saturday, but I'm feeling greasy and tired, but I also kind of want to see what's next. So should we just go and watch the second video, because we only got one book out of the first one? We're actually moving into 2017 because the other one I think was the only 2016 haul. Terrified.
First up, we have Pantomime by Laura.
Oh, Pantomime. I remember this. I do remember also unhauling it, so it is no longer with us.
Lamb. Oh, there's a blurb from Lee Berdugo. Cool. First off is The Watches by Neil Spring. Some sort of...
I don't have that either anymore. This is gonna be a big theme for the early vlogs, I feel. Not vlogs, hauls, sorry.
Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister by...
Oh, you know what? This one I have kept for a long time because it was one of the rarer things to find in a second-hand bookshop with a sprayed edge. So immediately my brain was like, oh, fancy. Must have. Ended up unhauling this one, I think because I looked into reviews or something. But anyway, no longer with us.
A Full Metal Alchemist manga because...
Okay. Actually still have that and have read it, so doing... I mean, not great, but I've read something of this, so a win.
Full Metal Alchemist is still my favorite anime of all time, and I've never read the manga, and I really should. Another book is Nevernight by...
I have read this. I might no longer have it but I have read it, so I'll just keep it in the red.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find It from
Right. No longer have it.
Sculptor by Scott Mc...
Ooh, Sculptor. I think I still have it, and I have also read it, and I really, really liked it. And I think, if I remember right, because again, a while back now, but it would hold up, I want to say. It was quite unique.
The More the Merrier. Illidan by William King. This is a...
I want to say this was back when I still played World of Warcraft, and I no longer have this.
Timekeeper by Tara Sim.
Oh, you know what? That one also stayed with me for a long time because obviously time is a theme that I like. But it is also no longer with me now.
Gimme. Graphic novel iZombie by...
iZombie. I have read this one. Have I read this one? I have watched the series. Now I'm confused whether I have also read it or not. I might also no longer have it. Let me, this one requires a little bit of checking. I guess it doesn't actually matter because I no longer have it.
And last but oh god, so not least, is a book that I wanted for ages. We have the illustrated version of A Brief History.
Okay. I do still have this. I have dipped into it from time to time on just look at it like a little subject or something. I will say I have not read it fully. I will not be sitting reading this in its entirety. I feel like you know why. It's just, this is gonna take too much brain power. We don't have that to spare to this extent. So I could unhaul this already. So let's do that. I do not reach for it. I prefer to watch documentaries now or miniseries on things like that because it is much more brain friendly in the way that I take the information, and I think it will just be simply too dry for me at the moment. So we'll pass this on and someone in the secondhand shop will find a lovely home for it. So unhauling a book. Granted, I didn't try it just now, but I have dipped into it before, and you know, it do be dry, and I do just prefer a visual for this rather than sitting and reading it. So, you know, it was ambitious, let's say, but also an unnecessary purchase, to be honest. So let's unhaul it. Okay. So that was all. Second video with very little to actually add to the TBR, but this is to be expected because obviously the age of the video. So, okay, we're gonna go on to 19th of March 2017. See how we do here.
Today we have something.
Oh, we swapped angles. Fancy.
Also, how are you? Hope you're good. During the month of January, I had...
Oh, we have the intro. I don't know when that came in. I don't think it was in the previous one, so interesting.
A book buying ban. Now the ban is lifted. The first we have Civilianized by Michael.
I have read it.
The Black Obelisk by Remark.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Please tell me I have. Oh, please. Please. Well, I heavily despise myself at this current moment because I still have it. No. I mean, maybe, you know, oh my god. Why? Maybe it's not even, why do I have it? I think it survived because it's floppy and now I'm paying for my insanity. So why not add a wartime classic into the mix of things that we're reading currently? I do remember starting this at some point. Damn, this is gonna be thick, isn't it? It's gonna be, this is gonna be a slow read. It's gonna be a slog, but maybe, perhaps, it's brilliant. I guess we'll find out. Fuck. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I do remember it having like this kind of dark humor laced through it, which does give me a little bit of hope. Was I gonna read this ever? Actually, probably not. If anything, this isn't the spirit of the video because I shouldn't keep the books that I don't actually think I'll ever read, and maybe it's gonna be my next favorite. And if not, we can always DNF and unhaul. So this is actually a perfect example of what this video was for. I'm just bitter because It's not something I would have picked up now, and it is so... Why did they print from the very top to the very bottom? Here we go, onto the TBR.
Tried to read this book maybe 3 times, and I absolutely every time I would enjoy it so much and I would just stop for some reason. This was way back though, so I'm hoping that this year is gonna be the year when I actually finish.
It will not, spoiler alert.
Finish this, so I got myself a copy. It's so
I do remember starting to read this when I was still living in Lithuania, and I had it in the Lithuanian translation. So this truly has followed me since very, very young days. So I guess it is about time that I actually see if this should have a spot in my library or not. But I totally forgot this existed. I'm not gonna lie. It's just one of those that I kept because I do have like memories of me reading this in the summer in like the garden, whatever. Like I have unreasonable sentimental value to something that I haven't even gone more than like 20 pages in.
floppy. I love it. Next we have Cinder by Mercy.
Cinder! I didn't expect to see that here. Okay. Early YA series, but it's an early sci-fi YA, and it's one that I still actually do actively want to try. So I'm kind of happy that this has shown up here, and it is going on to the TBR. Very different. Very different than that, but I guess it's nice to have an interesting mix.
Samaya, A Darker Shade of Magic by V.
Okay, that's fine. We have read this already, which is good.
E. Schwab. I have never read anything by V. E. Schwab, and I hear that this
Aww, look at her. Never read anything by V. Schwab.
is awesome, so, you know. March's Book in a Jar book, Girl Interrupted.
Book in a Jar! Who remembers Book in a Jar? Like I used to do like book diaries for a Book in a Jar. It started on Instagram. Well, the jar started on Instagram. It was just a massive jar I could fit books in. And then it just moved on to here, but that's a throwback. Girl Interrupted I have read, because it was the Book in a Jar.
By Susanna Kaysen. Truthwit by Susan Dennard.
Ooh, Truthwitch. I have not read this, and I have since unhauled it because I just don't really have an interest in trying it. This kind of goes the same way with some of the early YA. Some of them I still have reasons to want to try, and then some of them I feel like it's just time to say is never gonna happen, and it's okay to move on. So this one is one of them. I no longer have this.
This book is all over BookTube, and I feel like I'm missing out, and I don't like missing out, so. And Cinder and Duality.
After Image was the book that I have read and reviewed, but then these were sent to me, so they do not count. I don't actually know if I still have them either. I don't think that I do, but I did actually quite enjoy After Image at the time that I was reading. I didn't have that much to compare it to at that point, so I don't know if it would still stand, but I had a good time when I was reading it. But I'm not gonna count these.
Next is the book that when I asked people what's the book that's gonna make me cry finally, people almost unanimously said Forbidden by Tabitha Suzume.
Huh? I don't even remember what that book is about, but I do know that I don't have it.
2 graphic novels. First is Monstrous.
Okay, Monstrous. Did read, so I'm gonna put it down to read. The artwork is gorgeous, honestly one of the most beautiful ones, but the plotline was a mess.
And then we have Rat Queens because...
And Rat Queens, this is what? Is this volume 1? It's volume 1! It's the beginning of Rat Queen's journey. I have read and still own.
As Clara from Clara Reads Books constantly speaks about how funny this is. And it's
Clara.
called Sass and Sorcery, and everything that has sass in its name sold. Yep, I believe that's everything.
I would just like it to be noted. This is very, very painful for me to do. Okay. Surprisingly, I'm actually already on page 275 of The Black Obelisk. I'm actually really enjoying the writing style. I do remember trying this book as a teen, perhaps, a couple of times, so the beginning definitely did uncover some memories there, even though I am fairly certain I was not reading it in English. Saying that the translation is very good, for what I can tell, or if not, then the translator's tone is doing this book a good service. Even though I am 60-70% through this, it's very hard to describe what it actually is. A kind of commentary of the time after the First World War, before the Second World War, but with the whisperings of that already amping up. This is set in Germany as well. Life post-war, when you go to war when you're 17 and now the main character is 25. We are living through a time where inflation is just extremely ridiculous. The dollar to local currency change rate multiple times a day to an extent where you just don't know what you're going to be able to afford is just grim. But the book has a lot of bite in the way that it's written. It has a lot of consistent humor weaved in throughout it. It would otherwise be a very hard and exhausting read. And I don't even know if humor is the right word for this, because it's, you know, a lot of the jokes are at someone's expense and a lot of the stuff is just semi-leaning on absurdism. The reason that I'm saying this is a hard one to describe is because plot-wise, not a lot is happening. This is almost like a slice of life type of situation. Again, we're following the main character who's 25. He is an undertaking, so he works with gravestones and obviously like working with death. But you know, at the core, it's still a 25-year-old guy, and this definitely suffers from a man's perspective, POV type of thing of, you know, like the rigid breasts of women is mentioned a few times. There's a little bit dimension a couple of times of women, but a lot of the time is just seen through that frustrating, almost memeable version of women being written in text, especially back in the day, I guess. But you know, there's some agency in there. It could be worse is what I'm saying. From my perspective, a lot of the value from the book is the conversations the main character is having with other characters about the state of the world. There's an underlying theme of anti-war, anti-religion, which is interesting to see, especially as I know this is like very hot topic at the time. Very controversial perhaps. What year was this actually released? Published in 1957. Okay, so less of a hot topic, I guess, because obviously the way that this is written is like 1920s, so would have been probably not published. And I think it's interesting seeing these type of books with very little actual plot. Is just our main character going through the day-to-day and meeting with people. He's a poet, so he goes to this poet society, conversations with church leaders and the local pub guy, and there's people that he served in the war with, and of course there's some love interest, and none of it really goes really well. There is this note of loneliness throughout it as well, even though it's not very explicit. The person is very surrounded by people all the time, but there is this constant search for something, to the point where I feel like the most stable relationship, especially romantically, for this man is the woman he visits in the asylum nearby who has schizophrenia. So the way that schizophrenia is written here also is a bit of a split personality almost, where she can be a different person and he doesn't know which one it will be, but also she will recognize him as a different person every time he goes in. But I have actually been really enjoying their conversations as well. I found it to be written in a very unique way. Again, it is kind of laced with this undercurrent of unseriousness while discussing very serious matters, and it becomes quite philosophical at times. This would be a banquet for literary analysts. I feel like there's so much material to work with, but also for a casual consumer of books, I feel like you can go into this blindly and still bump up against some sort of point that you will take out of this book. Like, I feel like it's just so thoroughly laced with these topics and beautifully written lines. I personally find that there's loads of characters that I don't quite know who's who sometimes, but at the same time it does nothing to the story. Like, I'm not losing any super important information, I feel, because it is about what they're talking about rather than who they are, because again, the plot in this book is not really plotting. This is a very different type of read. But I've been really enjoying it. I'm very surprised because, again, well, not like surprised, obviously, maybe there's a reason I've been keeping this since 2016 and also from way before, but I can't deny that I have like a nostalgic twist to this book, and I am actually so pleasantly relieved that I am enjoying it. I'm definitely gonna be keeping this. I do not see anything happening in the last like this bit. I'm happy with the pacing that I currently have, and again, I'm going through it fairly quickly because I'm just really enjoying it. But if I wanted to, this would be one of the books that I would take even more time to sit with and reread some of the lines, like highlight. This would be a perfect book to annotate. I'm not doing that for the sake of the project, and also I have a lot of other things to read by the end of the month. Great news! I'm enjoying it. This one definitely ranks way above The Psychopath Test. It's nothing to, like, it's incomparable. Very pleasantly surprised. I also thought it would be denser, not to say that this is not dense, but I wouldn't call this intimidating, and I was afraid of a very particular Old English type of writing, but I think this makes sense that it doesn't suffer too much from that because it is a German text. So it's a translation and it didn't quite lean super into the old-timey style. That's an update on that. I'm hoping to maybe finish this tonight. That would be a fantastic progress for the weekend. I will tell you right now, I did not go into this weekend thinking I'm gonna be reading this. I don't know why. Like, if you know me, you know I don't read classics often. This is like acting like a mosquito bite. I'm afraid that I'm going to get some sort of weird false sense of want after this, that I feel like it will be very misleading. Probably wouldn't go as far as to say that I would be now very tempted into reading classics, but I am very tempted to read All Quiet on the Western Front after this. So, well, not like directly after this, but like at some point. Fantastic update. I will see you in a bit. I finished it. I finished the book. It really just focuses on the day-to-day and the massive impact that inflation had during this particular time of the story. It's filled with such amazing dialogue dynamics that it really never felt slow, despite genuinely very few things happening, which I think is such a tell for how masterful the writing style was. And I've just ran it through Copal, which I understand I should have probably waited a little bit longer because I've just finished this. I'm really fresh out of it. And as I said, I think this book is something that you could reread immediately and get a lot out of it again. So many insightful lines that I think, I really think it has a really big like reread potential for those who do reread. I like to be punched in the gut whilst letting out a little bit of a chuckle. And that is my favorite way to get destroyed. I've gone on this emotional roller coaster with characters that I know very little about and the topics that are so heart-wrenching to read about, especially, again, we've really gone so deep in the inflation matters, and it's gotten to the point where, you know, money was just paper. You could line it as a wallpaper. It's gotten so ridiculous, and you have a lot of families losing loved ones for various reasons, and it's just, how does one stay sane, have hope of some sort, or just survive? You either leaned on your friends and used humor as a type of coping mechanism, or you became an alcoholic. At the end we had this passage saying, and you don't let them get you down, you've been saved so often, it's your duty to survive. Sure, I say, if only because of the others who weren't saved. Nonsense, simply because you're alive. When you give up something, you don't have to lose it. Only idiots think that. Who's talking about losing? Since we lose in the end anyway, we can give ourselves the luxury of winning beforehand, like the spotted monkeys of the forest. Do they always win? Yes, because they don't know what winning is. I love it. Also, this book had one of those things where the last chapter was like a recap of what happens to all of the characters we just spend the entire book with in the future throughout like the World War II, and who's gone to what side and what happened and who's ended up with whom. It's a lot of like personal dramas in the time where the world is on fire, and obviously we're talking Germany in World War II times. Well, pre-World War II for the main story, and then World War II after. And it's just that type of sort of like the life continues for the people who are living through these events. It was good. It's a 4.5 from me, and I cannot believe that I've been sitting on this book for so long. I just never got into it, and if not for this project, I probably never would have. Join me as I sort the dishwasher. I'm going to be updating you on Cinder, which I have started a couple of days ago, and I am on page 130. So right here. Now, I did know going in that this is a Cinderella retelling, so tell me why I was shocked and surprised that it actually followed the Cinderella story somewhat as well. I shouldn't have been surprised, granted, but I was. She has stepsisters, she has an evil stepmother, and there's a prince, and there's a ball, and we do kind of move away from that, but there's a definite very explicit nod at the start to the original, and that was actually kind of sweet. What I also absolutely did not know is that this has an element of a pandemic. I just did not expect that at all, and then I realized how little I've actually known about this book previously. I knew that she is, you know, part android. Like, I knew that she was augmented in a way, so I believe we even have a percentage. It's like 36 or something. But I'm actually very pleasantly surprised about the inclusion of the pandemic, because it then brings in this kind of like sci-fi medical chat, and I have historically been a fan of that, and I continue with this book. being a fan of that. So in that sense, I'm having a lovely time. I did give it like a day to kind of cleanse the palette, because obviously I went from literally a wartime classic to an earlier, I say early, it's not like super early, but it's one of the more OG considered YAs, right? So I was aware that we're doing quite a whiplash change in pace for what we're actually reading. That being said, I did not need to be as worried because it is written in a way that's obviously it's very consumable. It is not too complex at all, and it's easy to read, it's easy to get into. But I don't think so far that it is written in a way that is almost condescending, and that is one of my bigger issues with some of the earlier YAs, is that it's written in a way that makes me feel like the author thinks that YA readers are literally idiots. When everything is so dumbed down, everything is so spelled out, it feels like I'm eating something that was already pre-chewed. And it has nothing to do with the complexity of the story, it has everything to do with the writing and the way that the authors decide to go about it. So big massive points for me not feeling like I'm being treated that way, regardless of my age, because I think that is how it should be. A good start. After like the initial maybe 20 or so pages, I feel like the pace kicked up really quickly. It's keeping my attention, it's keeping me engaged. I will say that I had a little worry thinking that it's going to be extremely predictable. At around like 90 pages, I was like, oh, I bet this is what happens. But I've spoken to someone who has read the first book, granted a very long time ago, and I might actually be wrong. And if I am wrong in this prediction, I actually will be very happy about that, because then it plays into like misleading slightly, and I appreciate that. But that's to be seen. It's not confirmed. So I'm also now intrigued to see whether my prediction is correct or not. I'd probably be happy either way, but I would be happier if I'm wrong. Just for the sake of then having that kind of like pretty good misleading situation, which I know is an odd thing to kind of hope for, but at the same time, I appreciate it because it adds us an easy level of complexity, if done not in like a very cheeky way. So the story itself is about Cinder, who is again augmented human, so in the world kind of seen as a little lesser compared to humans, so she does hide that fact from the vast majority, and only a couple of people know it and kind of do mistreat her because of it. Cinder has one sister who is not kind of mean to her, and the sister, this all happens in the first like 30 pages, so I would not say I would not consider it spoilery, but the sister gets infected with this pandemic, and then she is worried that she is actually the reason who did infect her, but she gets tested and it's negative, but the family doesn't believe her, so they quote-unquote volunteer her to this research program where they do take in people and then they test them and then they infect them on purpose and inject them with whatever they're working on to see if that can fight the virus. And then there is also the prince, who is presumably soon to become an emperor, because the current emperor, the father, does have this infection as well. So I'm kind of gonna leave it at that because I'm not actually sure what is said on the synopsis and what isn't, so I'm gonna leave it at that. I dare say it gives a tiny bit of The Last of Us vibes, but that could be because the second season is ongoing and we are kind of up to date to it, so maybe, and also we started playing the game, so I think maybe it's also because it is slightly more present and prevalent in my mind, so maybe that's why I'm drawing the parallel, but there are a couple of things that kind of nod to it. Anyway, the point is that I'm having a really good time, and I'm happy that this is a slightly kind of like easier read, but not in a sense that it like just numbs my brain and I feel like I'm being talked down to. Always a plus, and I hope to do more of this reading tonight. But it's a very promising start. Hurrah! Okay, so I have finished Cinder. I really enjoyed it actually. Very fast paced. It was sorely needed in my reading life. I feel like I've been reading a lot of slower paced books, which are fine and grand, but from time to time, I do be really craving something really fast and very snappy. But you know, that being said, there were definitely some good conversations and kind of slower scenes throughout, so I think the pacing overall was very well suited for what it was. It's also one of the series that I started now, and actually do really want to continue like as soon as I can. I cannot do it like instantly, so we'll see how that ends up being. I really enjoyed it, basically. This has been delightful. I know I mentioned that I really enjoyed that it wasn't dumbed down. There were, granted, a couple of scenes that I did feel, or a couple of moments rather, that I did feel we are slightly leading into that. It is quite simplified, but you know, I cannot begrudge it for this because it comes with the territory a little bit. So, all that to say, I really enjoyed it, and an update for you on my suspicion plot-wise. I was actually, unfortunately, correct, but I'm not even that mad about it. It was a very clear setup, and we did get that direction revealed, let's say, at the very end. So it didn't really act as much as a surprise and a shock and a big like, ah, moment for me, because I did suspect it from like the page 80 or whenever it was first mentioned. So I was correct in the prediction of the storyline, but at the same time, it doesn't bother me too much because we have so much other stuff and sidelines going on. There's a healthy dash of politics in the story. There is this like Commonwealth, and we have representatives from Europe and Australia. We are all kind of against this lunar princess who's trying to very much threaten the Earthlings. And from what I know of the story, obviously the moon is going to play a very strong part of the series, so I'm actually very excited to see what goes on there. I just think it was very well balanced. There's a political side of this, there's a family dynamic, there's some mentorship or people who are involved in bigger conspiracies and are there to lend a hand, which I really enjoyed as well. There's that health aspect of it all with the pandemic going on, and all of that in, I want to say, just under 400 pages. So, you know, as I said, there's a lot going on, and it felt quite fast-paced in that sense. I haven't yet ran it through Copper, but I'm fairly certain it's gonna be like 4 stars. So, very, very solid. Very happy that I have this read. But that being said, we can actually wrap up the first episode. I think this is time to just release this, see how it does. see if we're continuing, if you're enjoying this. I am having a good time. This has definitely introduced a very massive element of surprise because, you know, I don't remember what I hauled and when I hauled it. I have already started editing this because I wanted to get ahead a little bit, and that little intro clip with me saying haul and it just lasts like 0.01 second or something took so long, so I hope someone appreciates and find it funny because I hope that it was worth it. But that being said, from this very first episode of Shelf Help, from TBR to CBA, tested 3 books and we have sorted 4. Brief History of Time is going away in the yeet pile. The Psychopath Test we have read a very decent amount actually. We had like, I don't know, like 20% left, but it was a DNF and it's also going away. And then we had 2 books been sat here for a little bit under a decade, which is insane, and have now been read and are both in like a 4-star territory, which is crazy, but such a good result. Such a good result. I think that is it. I'll just do the old intro for the sake of old time. Stay awesome, stay kind, and I'll see you next time. Bye!